All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Vicky Soma. This is Shapr3d and our third episode of How Would You Slice That on a Tuesday. That is a prime number. And with me, we have my co-host, Lawrence Nightingale. And as you may remember from previous episodes, Dr. Nightingale is an educator and a 3D printing advocate from Alexandria, Virginia, which is really nearby me. And he's facilitated the instruction of 3D printing for over 500 people in the Northern Virginia area. Thank you. Welcome back, Lawrence. How have you been since our last Prime Tuesday?
Been doing good. I've been counting down to the prime number, Tuesday the 13th. It's been a little bit too long, but I am glad to be here for sure.
Well, if it's been too long, you should know in March, I think our episodes are 2 weeks apart. And then sometime in this year, we have an episode that's 1 week apart. So
there we go. Okay. Well,
you might like the 3 week gap soon.
I'll have to make sure that I'm planning for those shorter gaps. And my co-host, of course, is Vicky Soma. She's a 3D printing innovator. She is an early adapter of multicolor 3D printing. She is a major contributor to 3D Printopia, and she has designed and built television props, as can be seen on the Hallmark Channel.
Yeah,
and indeed. So thank you for putting together another one of these wonderful episodes. And so, have you printed anything interesting since last we spoke?
I have so many little projects going on right now.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. I've been printing a lot of rings because this episode on Valentine's Eve, or as Pez points out, it's also Mardi Gras.
Yes.
We're going to be anticipating talking about some rings. I've been printing some secret parts for a secret project for my sister's birthday.
Wonderful.
I've been printing things for my middle schooler, and we've had a really bad luck with appliances this week, and 2 of them got fixed with 3D printing.
Well, there you go. Making the case for 3D printing every day. I too have printed some things for my school-aged child. She's got a project for Odyssey of the Mind that they have to design themselves and more or less print themselves. And my daughter's seen me 3D print so much that she was actually able to do it. She's in the 5th grade, so it's been family projects this week. So yes, I've been printing a few interesting things. I'm very excited about the subject of rings that you bring up, and so I'm really looking forward to our guest this week.
It sounds like a good segue for me to talk about our guest. Okay. Our guest tonight is a Shapr cube collector, but doesn't just do 3D printing, laser engraving, leather crafting, cosplay, 3D modeling, which we'll see a little bit of it today. He's also a photographer, and he's combined that with 3D printing for some practical prints. As far as maker creds, he beat me into the Maker Brick family by 2 months. Let's see, I saw firsthand at ERF 2023 that he's really efficient and personable at event registration and letting people into the events. And speaking of events, at ERF 2023, he was sporting these little slick 3-fingered ERF 2023 rings that he designed himself. So why don't we go ahead and welcome Steve McDonald from LayerXLayer Creations.
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing?
Steve.
Hello.
Hey. Good to see you.
You made me sound way more awesome than I am, so I appreciate that.
I'd like to think that anybody who has a Maker Brick is pretty awesome, because I just got mine in the last week.
You don't know, I celebrated so hard. You can't really see it. It's kind of like right there on a stand. You don't know how much I celebrated when Local Maker made my Maker Brick. I was super excited.
Can for those of us who don't have one yet, what is a Maker Brick?
Maker Brick, I can pull some up. It's they're live streamed to Maker Deck, and it's someone in Michigan, right?
Local Maker.
Maker,
he's awesome.
Michigan.
Okay, so it's a programming thing. It's not a printing thing.
Yeah, it's a printable. It's something that you print. He designs them, and then you print them out. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
There we
he
go.
designs a
I
brick for you.
will share my screen real quick. And we'll do this one. So this is his, so that's a maker brick.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, and some pizza too.
All right.
There's a maker brick, but wait, soon we'll get to mine. Somewhere. Oh, look. Hey, Steve, there's you.
Hey.
Maker
Oh,
brick.
okay. This is Miss Geek Tech, Carson. And so I'm soon. Oh, there's JT. Oh, there we go. Look.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
That's awesome.
Wow. Awesome. Well, there you go. Well, look for that's something to aim for on my part then. All
Yeah.
Well,
All
Steve,
right.
let's start off with, when I first met you at Earth 2023, we were, of course, very busy with registration. And so I don't know if I really got to hear how you started your 3D printing journey.
So basically, I think like 2016, my wife got me my first printer. It's a monoprice mini select. I still have it. I couldn't let it go. Actually, I can't let any of my printers go. I'm gonna have to let some of them go eventually. But yeah, it was my first baby, and it was the first one that I was able to, send a file to and wake up the next morning and have a print. So it's pretty, sentimental to me. And so that was the first printer. And then during the pandemic, I'm like, well, this is the perfect time to kind of mess around with a few things. And print out some bigger stuff. So I bought an ANET ET4X. To me, it was a great printer. I still have that one as well. It's over there somewhere, right over there. Then the collection just kept growing from there. So I have a Ender 3 Pro that I still use. I'm more or less using that for like the softer filaments, for like TPU and PLA Flexi PLA. And just kept gaining more machines. G Tech A30. It's like a 400 by 400 bed, 400 cube, I think, or something like that. So converting that to large filament sizes to do some bigger things with, doing some projects for like friends and stuff like that. And then just kept gaining more and more machines. K1, the A1,
the ANET, the bamboo,
yes,
bamboo A1.
yep, the bamboo A1.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you have one too, right? Or what do you have?
I got a mini. I got an
We've
A1
got the
mini.
minis,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got the A1.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't print overnight anymore.
Okay.
For obvious reasons.
Good.
But it's still, to me, my favorite is the K1. It just prints like no matter what I throw at it, it just works. And I know sometimes Creality gets a pretty bad name. I think it's more so a thing of there's more printers by Creality in the world for people to have issues with. So then you have more people complaining about them compared to some of the other printers. But I like Creality. I've never had any issues with my printers that I couldn't fix in a matter of an hour or two. I've been one of the people that have been lucky enough to not run into any major issues, clogs and things of that sort. So I'm always kind of like surprised when I hop online and you see someone like, oh, this issue or that issue. So I do like to offer help. To me, a part of 3D printing and a part of the journey of 3D printing for a lot of us is just community, and being available to help anybody. So if I live about 3 or 4 minutes from Micro Center, I can ride my bike to Micro Center occasionally over there, and I'll go there to get filament. But if someone's there asking questions, I'll tell them, here's this or that, try this, try that. There's a cool conference coming up, an event coming up, Earth, and so I make sure. Well, I'm sorry, 3D Printopia now. So I make sure to plug different things that are going on, just to kind of keep the community growing. And then like another push for me is just hopefully eventually getting more kids of color, and not just black kids, but like just there is I feel like there is a small like divide. Not divide is a harsh word. There's a definitive kind of like line where you don't see a lot of people from other cultures getting into 3D printing, and I do feel like there's things that culturally would be amazing to see. If like kids had access to 3D print things from their culture, or adults had access to 3D print things from their culture. So I think it's something that like people are missing out on. And so that's kind of like where I feel like a lot of my focus is going to like cultural things. So like the 3-finger ring to me was an homage to the movie Do the Right Thing. There's a character in there who has 2 3-finger rings, and one says love, one says hate. And that's kind of yeah, you're radio right here, yeah. And that's kind of what made me want to do it initially. And that's kind of where you saw the 3-finger rings as well. And to me they're pretty easy and they're fun. They're a cool way of just spicing up a little outfit. I've given some 3-finger rings to Santas, for to like mall Santas for Christmas, and they're like, "Oh, this is so cool. No one's ever given me a gift." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." Yeah, it's kind of ironic, but yeah. And so it's something that I enjoy doing. I like being able to make things, and I like being able to design things probably more than making them. I also like the process of prototyping and failing and fixing and measuring and all of that stuff. So
I love that you mentioned the process of failing.
Oh man, that's the best part of it. Honestly, it's something that carried over from like my photography as well. Was that I don't really care about good critiques. I care about the bad ones, and I prefer bad critiques over good critiques any day. Just because good critiques make you stale, bad critiques make you better. And so when you get bad critiques on things, you go and try to improve. And you try to make the process better, or you try to make the product better. And when people are like, "Oh, this is great," you don't do anything else about it. You're just like, "Okay, this is great. I'm done with it. Everybody loves it." But I don't want everybody. I want people to like hate it, so I can keep making it better and better and better. And fix the flaws and get to a point where it's hard for them to find anything else, and then I have to move on to a new project, and to the next iteration. So that's just I like fixing problems. It's kind of similar to what I do for my 9 to 5 as well. I work in IT. So problem fixing is one of my favorite things to do. So
I'm going to have to reflect on what you said about that, because my kids have just been starting to do YouTube videos and whatnot. And I'm, like kind of coaching them like, hey, like drown out the trolls or whatnot.
Yeah.
But we'll need to refine that a little bit so they can grow.
Yeah. It's about growth, man. It really is. Like, if we're not growing, what are you doing? You just become stale. I have a son that's in the animation, and that's kind of one of the things I kind of try to push him on, is that just keep pushing and keep making, and then eventually you'll get to the point where you'll want to move on to the next project. But if you just stop and let people stop you from doing what you want to do, then you're done, and you'll never want to pick it back up ever again. So you can't let people stop what you're doing.
Yeah.
Oftentimes the people who are criticizing quite so much also would never take the time or effort to learn how to do the things that they're criticizing sometimes too.
Yeah.
That's a really big lesson. And I think that part of what I think is a really important reason why we should get more people from diverse backgrounds into digital fabrication and into making is because to a certain degree, many people from diverse backgrounds have experienced have experienced real life, real time opportunities to make change or to revise a previous way of being in order to be more successful.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of opportunities for people to use their own life experience and apply them to digital fabrication in such a way that their life experience is an asset rather than a liability.
Yeah.
So I think that the more people from diverse backgrounds more people that get into it. Period. There's life lessons that come through in our practice, and failure and overcoming difficulty is a big part of it, a very big part of it.
Yep.
Because I have had many clogged. Um, I definitely almost did. I almost stopped 3D printing very early.
It happens.
Oh.
It happens. You hit that one little roadblock, and you're like, all right, I'll fix it tomorrow, and then it becomes next week, and then it becomes next month, and then all of a sudden it's like 3 months since you touch your printer, and then
Right.
it happens.
Yeah. No. Yeah. This was for me. It was I'd gotten a very early. I got a very early Prusa. Prusa i3. It wasn't from Prusa. It was before Prusa was even invented. It was a wooden frame, and I had a Hob bolt direct drive extruder, Greg's Wade. Man, that thing would not work for me. But I eventually got over that, and here we are. So yeah. I thank you for sharing that. So
No problem.
So like when you talk about culture and 3D printing, other thing. Are there any other things that you have thought about as far as like trying to design things to speak more to a?
Steve, can I show your earrings that you?
Oh
printed
yeah,
recently?
yeah,
I
absolutely.
have those pulled up. Those.
Yeah. So I do want to start doing a line of earrings, preferably cultural based earrings.
Yeah.
Just, and this was like the first set in the series of what I hope will become a series of earrings, culturally based earrings. Of course, starting with what I'm familiar with,
Right.
African American culture, and then hopefully finding someone that could pick it up and do it for their culture, and then just keep it going. I'm like, we have these tools, we have the ability to make whatever we want, and that's usually my answer to a question. The question when people say, what do you 3D print, and I tell them whatever I want. There's no limitations to it. If you can find the design, or if you can make the design, or if you can make it in pieces, you can make whatever you want.
Wow.
And that just makes it cool. Like literally, that these earrings took maybe an hour to make. And so if I was an earring wearer, I'm like, I could go from potentially designing an earring earlier that day and then having a special unique pair of earrings for myself to go out with, or a unique 3-finger ring to wear, or and that's what makes it awesome, when you can. And now there's so many repositories for files out there that you can go and find stuff, or you can make it yourself. But now there's options to, my daughter went to prom last year, and I 3D printed. It was a masquerade theme, so I 3D printed her mask for her, and then and fabricated a arm for it and stuff like that. And it was like no one even wore a mask, but she had a mask that I made for her, and so that just made it cool. It was like I was a part of her, prom experience, and maybe in some photos out there, there's a picture with her with that mask, and it's a memory that she'll have. It's like, my dad made that mask for me or whatever. So, those are the cool things about it. Is literally, and I'm trying to get my kids into it a little bit more, but to them it's like, well, why do I have to get into it if you're already into it? So
interesting.
So
wow,
it's cool.
Real quick, I asked this on Twitter too, and trying to zoom in here. You use the concurrent infill here, or the solid infill, didn't you?
Yeah. I use solid.
It's beautiful there.
Thank you.
The concurrent pattern.
And then I used that is either sparkling black from Inland, or no, I think that's sparkling black from Inland, and that is chocolate from Inland as well, matte chocolate from Inland as well, which I felt like was appropriate. So
wow. And you mentioned that's that took you an hour to design, and you talk about designing and fabricating, maybe working off of small things and making things big, et cetera.
Yep.
How did you settle on your preferred design platform?
So I was using Fusion. Well, let me start all. I started with Tinkercad and used that for a very, very long time.
Okay.
And
Which is what all the maker bricks are made in, right?
yeah, I
Tinkercad?
think so. Yeah, and Tinkercad is amazing, man. Like a lot of people, you know, they quickly move on, but you know, for anyone getting into printing and stuff like that, you know, I was designing my fidget spinners and you know all of that stuff right in Tinkercad, and everything else that I needed, and then I finally moved on to Fusion. I've always been a fan of CAD. It was just Tinkercad was easy. I could pull it up at work. I could pull it up here or there, and then I started using Fusion, and you know, Fusion's cool, but you know, sometimes they change Fusion like every month, and there'll be a setting that you're like, oh, I know exactly what this is. I use it all the time, and then it's moved to like another area, and I'm like, okay, this is a lot. So I would use Tinkercad to do my rough drawings in, and then I would import them. They have a feature that allows you to import them directly into Fusion. So like if I was designing like a shell for like one of my cameras or something like that, I would do the rough design with like general shapes, and Tinkercad, and move them into Fusion. I would probably still do that now if I use Fusion because it's so quick to do it in Tinkercad and then take those rough, you know, squares and circles or whatever shapes and move them over and then customize them in Fusion. But then Fusion, they had the 10 cap, and then I wanted to start selling things. So I walked away from Fusion and switched over to Shapr. Shapr was cheaper. It was also available on the iPad, which was a big selling point for me. And then they also had the desktop version, so you could work on it on your iPad and switch over to the desktop and continue working on it. So to me, that was great. I've been using Fusion for about 2 or 3 years now.
Shapr?
I'm sorry. I've been using Shapr for like 2 or 3 years now.
Hey, good attention to detail, Lawrence.
Yeah. And then like for like organic stuff, I tried Blender. Going between Blender and Shapr was just making my head hurt way too much. And so
I
lately,
use Blender.
oh man,
That's okay.
I could not wrap my head around it. It's the going back and forth for me, because of you can change the shortcuts and stuff like that, but I didn't want to do all that. And so I think I was trying to like make something with some fur on it, and I could not get the fur to lay right with the hair. I can't remember the hair plugin that they have now that's built into it, and you can create the hair and then say the density of it. It was never laying proper for me, so I switched over to Nomad Sculpt on iPad, and it's pretty cool. I like it. I did like a little bear.
Oh, your little bear, yeah.
Yeah. I did a little bear that was over like Thanksgiving break or something, and it was cool. I'm like, okay, this is where I'll do all of my like organic things. I like it. It's easier to me than
little bear.
Yep. And did that in Nomad Sculpt. So
okay. And so now, so you know the follow up question to that is that you mentioned Tinkercad, which is a free software, and then you went into the paid versions and stuff like that. How much do you think that? How much is there any inflection point for people who are interested in designing their own things to get a design software that is adequate to a little bit more than adequate without paying? That seems to be something I have a hard time convincing people to do.
So I think like one of the biggest things you get from switching over from Fusion from Tinkercad to something else,
like
is that
on shape or what all
it's that little bit of like finish on it that makes it look professional, like fillets, like chamfers and things of that sort that you kind of have to cheat around in Tinkercad, or like smooth circles, which seems like a big deal. I mean, it seems like it's something small, but it's kind of a big deal when when you want something with more than 64 sides on it.
Yes.
So that's when you kind of have to move over. Like I couldn't see me trying to make those earrings in Tinkercad, just because the amount of shapes it would take for me to get to what I want would be, you know, so many, you know, geometric shapes in that object. And granted, they do have the custom shapes, which are cool, and you can kind of like do more organic things with them, but not a lot of people know about the custom
Oh,
shapes
there's
in there.
that squiggle tool, and you can import SVGs into
I
Tinkercad
think
too,
so, but
right?
there's
Yeah.
like another like shape that it has like a whole bunch of points on it, and you can adjust it to whatever you want, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I tell people to start with Tinkercad because it'll match the level of your printing experience. You know, it's like, oh, you know, this is an easy way to design something simple and print it out. But similar to like you said before, like once you elevate in your experience with 3D printing and with designing, you know, my toilet broke. I literally took the piece out, measured it, and within an hour had 2 replacement parts for it. Like I just printed 2 just because I didn't want to just print one. And I fixed it's still running now, you know, and it's like we have I tell people something like I got robots, man. My robots will do it for me. And
That's awesome.
you know, we literally can like just have what you want. You can make what you want. You can, you know, you need something, and I'm just really starting to kind of get to that. I say like I'm like 80% there now, where if I want something, instead of me going and buy it, I'll print it. But I'm not to the point where like I was gonna make some shelves, and I basically was like, oh, I could just print my shelf brackets out myself, and I'll have them, you know, in like 2 or 3 days. And then I was like, or I could just go to IKEA, and they had like dollar shelves. I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna sit here. I'm like, yeah, I bought like you know, like 10 of them and walked out of the store. You know, in the same amount of time it probably would have taken me to print those out. You know, to print out one. You know, so I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna just print everything, but if there's things that I can print that I don't have to leave the house for, or I don't need it immediately, or it's just smarter to, you know, like I'm not gonna print like a trash can, you know, when I could just go to Dollar Tree and buy a small trash can.
Right.
You know, there's and I'm really not big into like the toy printing. I prefer to keep my prints functional, which sucks because functional prints don't seem to take up as much filament as toys. You know, they don't. So like I wind up with like all of this stuff here, and it's like 3 high, and then there's like shelves here, and there's some shelves up here, and I'm like, I'm have to figure out. I'm have to design some like bigger functional prints if I ever want to get through the filament that I have.
Or participate in a We the Builders thing, or sometimes with my extra spools, I donate them to a local innovation lab at a community.
Oh, nice.
College.
Yeah, that's pretty. I may have to do that.
Somebody can take it.
Yeah, I got a couple rolls up here now that I'm just trying to like finish off, because they're older. There were some back when Joann's was getting offloading their printer, you know, supply. So I have a couple. It's nice filament. It was called Sculpto. I don't know. No, I got Kodak too, but these are Sculpto. Yeah, and they had a couple. The ones I got were pretty nice. But this is like a orange and a white that I'm trying to finish off. Hopefully, I'll be able to finish it with like some upcoming projects and stuff. Yep.
Good.
Hey, jumping back, I think like looking at your Instagram and your Twitter, I see similar things that you and
Former
I
Instagram.
did.
We'll see if I get my Instagram back. I don't know.
On your Instagram, you had a Starfire costume from
Oh yeah.
And I had done that a few years ago, and I think you had done like little cups too, like drinking cups. I think I saw somewhere.
So I do make these because I shoot 35 millimeter film.
Maybe that's what I was seeing.
Yeah, I make these. This is I'm sorry, wrong camera. These are like film canisters that I make. I make them in all kinds of colors, and then lots of time I wind up giving them to like other photography people. But they also work for EDC, everyday carry type thing. So this one actually has like a bunch of quarters or something in it that I was tired of lugging around. But yeah, I use them most of the time for 120 millimeter film, but they also hold regular film and anything else you could put in there. I'm probably going to design one for fish hooks very soon. I know some fishermen And so what I'll plan on doing is kind of like having magnets in the top of this, and then they could just kind of, you know, have all of their hooks in here, and basically, you know, be able to just pull them out real quick or whatever they need to do with them. So a couple things that I want to do with them.
Good idea. And then the last third thing that I printed that you printed, going back a little bit, is I just fixed a toilet last weekend. Well, a bidet knob.
Nice.
That is, I mean, you know, that's the ultimate honeydew list completer right there, fixing it with the machine. Wonderful.
Yeah, but I will say it wasn't my first in my head to fix it with 3D printing. I just was Googling replacement parts and a Printables link came up. So
Nice.
I wasn't on my A game there, my A 3D
it
game.
takes a little bit to like switch, you know, over to the fact that we have that ability to just kind of, you know, like my wife recently bought some toothbrush things for the kids' bathroom, and like in my head I was like, you could have just told me to make those. And I was a little bit beside myself, like, why didn't you just ask me? I could have, you waited 2 days for that. I could have made that in like a day, you know. So, you know,
and it would have been custom, and it would have matched the bathroom colors, and it would have had all kinds of different options.
No,
Steve, can you clarify real quick? Joann's, they have filament?
They had filament. They had some small like Kodak printers, and then they had Kodak branded filament, as well as another brand called Sculpto. This was 3 or 4 years ago, I think, that they had filament, but I still had it around. So I was just trying to use it up.
Yeah.
And hey, Karen, how you doing?
Well, Steve, on the Shapr3d, does this feel like a good time? Steve is graciously agreed to give us a little demo and show us how he makes his rings.
1 second. There we go.
Let's go ahead and put you in solo layout.
And Shapr3d is well, we'd have that's the platform that we're working off of.
Yep, that's the platform. So most of the time I have like a base model. So that I don't have
there's a bride. There's one for a bride.
Oh yeah. I had one for bride and groom. I felt like it was a cool kind of like gimmick thing to kind of do. Here's the Christmas ones. I'm sorry, we can kind of get back to it. This is the Christmas ones with the sizer. That I'll probably just upload the sizer alone, so that people could use it to size their own rings. And for some reason, my mouse has decided to not. There we go. Somewhere a button is being held, but yeah, so it allows you to kind of like size it out, and it's based off of, I believe, the index finger. Yeah, off the index finger. And so then once you size this, you can size the rest of the rings or whatever other rings. They'll always be this size, so the sizer will work. You just downsize it to whatever size you need. So that's cool. But yeah, so usually I start from a base that I have. And then 1 second. There you go. Yeah, so I have like a base model, and this is just a regular typical ring. I try not to move it so much so people don't get motion sick. And then because I've seen it happen. You know, and so you basically come in, and in Shapr they have a cool feature where you can just right click on the surface that you want to, you know, sketch on. And I just click sketch. It'll zoom to that surface. And then you come down here, and if I want to add text, you can add, you know, whatever text you want to add. I'll say, how did you slice that?
How
right?
W, how would you slice
how
that?
would you? Oh, sorry, how would you slice that?
Getting our own ring.
All right, so then that gives us, it kind of lays it all out. So I can see that the T is kind of hanging off over here, but I'll wind up resizing this anyway. But this just kind of like gets me started with it. And occasionally it does that. It shifts according to your view. Let me go back in and do it one more time. So how would you?
Oh, this is
Mhm.
awesome.
All right, and then I hit check on that. And so Shapr uses planes a lot. So right now I've created a plane which is against the front of this ring. If I create anything else on this plane, it'll basically use this as the surface. The thing is, I want to be able to extract this, and you can see that because the front of this ring is a plane, the rectangle behind it, and because the letters are they're sharing the same plane, each one of these sections has now been cut by the shape behind it. So I could select any section on its own if I wanted to, but to kind of get around that, you just have to hide your item. So now I can select the whole body, I mean the whole surface itself. So I come in here and I can select each one of them. And I know just from experience what distance works best. And this is just kind of like my own workflow for it. I usually extract the front out by 6.
It's 6 millimeters.
Yeah, 6 millimeters.
Okay.
I'm sorry. And then I extract the back, usually by 2. Instead of just doing the whole 8 and then moving it around. I just prefer this way because then I don't have to move it at all.
I'm gonna want to print this. I know it already.
We definitely have that in common. All
So
right.
now once I bring back the ring, it's already set inside of it. Because the overhangs are so small, usually your printer won't have an issue with this because they're very, very small gaps. But we still have the issue of this part over here kind of like hanging off to the side. So what I'll do for that is, give me 1 second. Let me zoom out a little bit. And if you can see my desk, I have like 3 separate mice that I use for this stuff. I'll group these into a folder. That way I can act on them all at once. And then I'll scale them, but I want to scale them non-uniform because I like the thickness of them, but I want them to be able to still have this T eventually make its way onto the body. So I'll non-uniform scale these, and it'll keep everything kind of centered. But now I have, you know, the text all kind of seated on the ring, so I don't have to worry about any pieces hanging over the edge.
So Steve, 3D Printy wants to know the reverse extrusion that you did with the 2 millimeters in the back. That helps with the fillets.
Yeah, that helps anchor it to the rings itself.
Okay.
So that when I join the bodies, I don't have to, like, you know, they basically it'll just merge everything into one body. So let's say if we wanted to add some slicing through this, right? We can come in here, grab a rectangle, and I could just pick one of the faces, resize my rectangle. And then I can extract it through. Let me hide these objects. Like I said, that's the Shaper's nice. It's not there are features that I do miss from Fusion, but there's also a lot of features here that it's just easier to use. And it's kind of they kind of gear Shapr towards like furniture making a lot, but I mean you can still do tons and tons in this application. There we go. Yeah, bring back the ring. Oh, lost it 1 second. I'll bring it this way first. Now bring back the ring. And I can just kind of slide this through
Mm-hmm.
and then merge it with bodies. Do a subtraction.
Oh.
No matter what you pick, this will always be opposite of whatever you want it to be. It always happens. It's always the opposite of whatever I want it to be. So then I can join these and I can keep the originals, or I can I usually try to keep my originals.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say all. And then I can come back in and kind of get rid of them. Once I figure out where to put it, put it in the folder. Like there's some quirkiness about it, but I'm kind of used to it just from using it. Move that there. Now I'll get rid of this. Bring this back and get rid of that. So now, if I wanted to add some more to that, I could kind of come in. The thing is that you have to keep in mind that you don't want to slice it too much because certain things will start hanging, they won't have any anchor points. So for this, I could do a couple more and slice it through and then run it through the printer. I just did one that I'll probably be rolling out later this week for Remurf Rocky Mountain Rep Festival. It has the silhouette of the Rocky Mountains on it.
Nice. When is that taking place?
I think it's in April.
April.
I don't know the exact date.
Rocky Mountain, you mean Colorado?
Yeah, it's in Colorado. Yes.
Okay, won't be going, but
but yeah, and so yeah, and I have that one printed out. Let's see, it is here. It's kind of hard to see because the surface of it is white, but and that is that one.
And so Steve, I mean, what is really jumping out in my mind right now, just that I can't avoid asking is, now that you've got that Bamboo Labs and it's 4-color capable, have you been looking at your design practice with eyes on making it things like natively multicolor?
Yeah, that's this one. The hold on. So there's a multicolored one version of the Rocky Mountain. Okay. Yeah, Rep Festival ring. I'm sorry, I got caught looking at them. So yeah, there's a multicolor version right there just to kind of mess around with to give it some depth.
And then the earrings you showed were multicolored too.
Yep. Yeah, those are done on. I wouldn't be able to do those without the bamboo.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first things that inspired me to kind of start doing more of those things. I've done other things in the past, but it involved color swapping. And
yes.
And the cool thing about that is like Pez Liz, she's going to be doing a lot of stuff dealing with adding color to print. So anybody should make sure to check out her whole thing that she's going to be doing. But I have I'm just trying to locate it. I did a Wakanda Forever medallion.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, and so this was basically, it's colored in here, but when I printed it out, and I always, whenever I wear it, people always ask for it, and I just give it to them, and they're like so blown away because of them. I know that the process for it, and it's literally just 3D printed, but for them, they're like, oh, this is so freaking sweet, So, and usually when I make these, I make it with the white is usually glow in the dark filament, some type of glow in the dark filament, and then just the black is usually a matte black or something like that. But it gives it a cool look, and people really they see it and they're like, "Can I have it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead." And they're like, "How much do you want for it?" I'm like, "No, you can just, it's plastic, like you can go make another one, it's not a big deal, And so that's like, to me, like I said, I want them to know that it was 3D printed, and that's the fun of it, is just being able to tell people, hey, you can get into this as well, and make things that you like. And this was literally, we were going to see the last movie. It was my birthday. My wife was taking me to the movies for my birthday with my kids, and we were going to see Black Panther 2. And so I was like, I want something cool to wear. You know, everyone's wearing like the dashikis and stuff like that. Like, I want something that only I'll have. And so I made this kind of in line with the whole, you know, with the movie and stuff like that. So
All right.
yep.
You make me feel like I need to up my game when I go to movies and events. I got to plan ahead for my children's prom.
It's fun, you know. It, like I said, it's one of those things that once you start kind of like thinking about those types of things, you'll start. I mean, you've been doing it long enough. You'll just start thinking like, oh, how can I make this? Or and not everybody is into designing, and I understand that, but I do want to show people how easy it can be. So that's usually what I'll be streaming when I do stream. I'm still trying to figure out a schedule for it, but
okay, that's a good segue for me to do this little banner. Here we go. Check out
for
your
sure.
Twitch channel.
Yeah, and you know, I'm here to help people. If you know anybody needs help with anything, or you know, want to learn something or have questions, just you know, hit me up on Twitch or hit me up on Twitter. I'm always willing to help someone out, you know, figure things out or whatever. I have questions as well, and I get, like, I'll say creatives block as well. So I'm always looking for small things to kind of mock up, to make, and you know, to try to figure out, So
Mm-hmm.
So now that you've modeled the ring, do you mind showing us how you would go about slicing it?
Oh yeah. So give me 1 second. Let me switch screens. Do I have that screen? Let's see. Sometimes this acts weird.
Well, while you're doing that, Steve also has a LinkTree that you can go to and, you know, find his Twitter and YouTube station and the other things, and hopefully Instagram again.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Of course.
Yeah, the platforms can be a bit tricky from what I understand.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, you know, while he's getting ready for that, what slicer do you use, Steve, usually?
Oh, goodness gracious. What slicer don't I use? So for my like my older printers, I still use Cura from time to time, but I also use Idea Maker. Idea Maker, it's one of those ones that kind of it's from Shapr3d. It's just, I like it because when I couldn't get Cura to work the way that I wanted it to, this was one of the ones that I tried, and this was like years ago. And from it worked out of the box for things that I could not get to work using Cura. So once I figured that out, it became like my go-to slicer
platform.
Yeah, and they have a pretty good like library of like assets. So like you can come in and kind of grab your printer from a list of printers. You can come in and they have certain filaments available as well. They have tons of like things that aren't in other ones. Like you can add textures on the fly to your print. So like if you had like you know, like Vicky, if you had your like the infill pattern that you use, you can use that as a PNG and wrap that around the outside of a object.
Wow.
So they have different features. I'm sorry, I'm on a Mac, so I have to make sure that I'm sharing the screen.
Okay.
And that's what's taking me a little bit longer.
No problem. Idea Maker is one that I haven't gotten.
I have not.
Yeah,
but it's
like I said, it's one of those ones that like people just don't know about. So,
and you being in IT, we saw that you had the camera setup and everything, have you found yourself to be a user of Octoprint?
Yeah. Oh gosh, indeed. I have
Okay.
uh I have 3 Octoprints running.
Okay.
Yeah, I have 3. I think I have a 4th kind of like on reserve. Yeah, I use Octoprint for my older printers just because they don't have Wi-Fi, and a few other settings. So those are the ones that I prefer. I prefer that for those machines. I have tried Clipper on the K1. It didn't work out. I ran into some issues, and the printer just printed better with the native Creality stuff on it. I'll probably try it again down the road, but for now, it's just the one that I like the most. You know,
Gotcha.
yeah. Sorry about that.
No, no, take your time. Take your time. I'm
Um,
just throwing questions at you. Yeah. Do you have? Well, you
I
don't. You
do
don't.
have the Earth 23 ring in bamboo slicer. If you run into
yeah,
technical
if you can, yeah, because it wants me to close out.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah.
So you want me to?
Yeah. If you can, that'll be cool.
Okay. Hey everybody, this is my bamboo slicer. This is when I downloaded the Earth 23 3-finger ring. So Steve, I ascertained from the picture of your Christmas rings that you print these with the text face down, right?
Yep.
So if anybody's new to slicing, I think all the ones that we've talked about, they have adjustment tools where you can resize or whatnot. And one of the things that you can do is rotate. And so here, both in Prusa Slicer and Bamboo Slicer, if you hit on this actual little rotation, this little circle here, you can do exact numbers, exact rotations, exact angles. So Steve, when you print, do you do any supports at all, or you just let it go? I'm down here. This totally was fine with bridging on my printer.
And I try to keep it in that realm so that it doesn't need to have any supports in there. Occasionally, depending on like if there's a Y next to another letter, you may need some kind of support in there, just because the gap may be a little too big. But yeah, the only times that I ever put supports are in the ring holes themselves, the finger holes, I guess.
Okay, yeah, I did that when I printed mine. I think I used the organic supports because they're just so new to me. I'm still like smitten with them.
I know, right?
Wonderful.
They're so good.
Yeah.
So, but I will say I do find that like old school supports sometimes are just as good. Like depends on what you're printing. Because there's nothing like the feeling of pulling out the old school supports and they all come out in like one chunk and you're like, yeah, that's perfect.
I did one with a derby car. I just threw it away. But it came off. It was like a slinky. It was all attached. It came off in one piece. The traditional supports. So one thing I love about, I loved how you use the concurrent infill for the hair of your earrings. But one thing I love about printing this face down is it'll pick up the textures of your bed. So this is just, wow. Okay. This is just the texture that came off of the bamboo mini bed. I want to experiment with those little diffraction papers. So, you put that down and get some neat patterns on the face, the focus point of the ring, which is, I think, really, really kind of cool. While we're on this screen, not all of the rings would print face down. Preparing for this, I wanted to do a little bit of homework. And so I printed a lot of rings, and they're not all, face down or orientation. Like this dragon, pretty much his chin was pretty much perpendicular to the bed, so the supports would be under his chin and whatnot.
Did you paint that, or is that?
Oh no, it is the new the printed solid PS import. So it's tricolors. It has the purple and the I think green and blue. So, and that thing is gone now. My middle schooler, it's his. It's going to him with him to school every day. I haven't seen
Nice.
these photos or whatnot.
And I love the texture on your earth ring. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. That was, I told you my plan was to use the diffraction paper, but once I saw what it looked like off just the regular bed, I was like, all right, I dig it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I guess, while we're here, I do have a quick little tip for people. Someone has a color swap idea for your color swap, where the letter switch to the ring base might hide the bridging well. Oh, that's a good idea. So I think this may come as a shock to the audience, but me and Steve, we have very different fingers. And this Earth 23 ring was uploaded to Printables before you had that ring sizer, right, Steve?
Yep.
And the same thing with when I downloaded that dragon ring that we just saw in the PS imports. That was in a size that was not compatible with my middle schooler's finger. And so, we talked about the adjustment tools where you can rotate. You can also resize here. I have seen on Printables, someone had a ring and they had all the different ring sizes and what percentage you needed to scale things down to. The dragon ring didn't have that. So one little hack that I did is those slicer-based slicers that like Bamboo Studio and Prusa Slicer that both based off of the slicer backend. You can right click and add a primitive to it. So you can add little shapes. And in Prusa Slicer, you can add SVG files and text. It's really sweet. So I went ahead and added a cylinder, and then I just resized it to what my ring size was. And you just Google like, oh, I'm a US 7.5. What's the ring size or whatnot? So I scaled it to what I wanted. We'll just stick with that. I used my little rotate A again to do the 270. And then here, by default, when you are trying to move things off the bed, Prusa Slicer and Bamboo Studio, they want you to keep it on the bed itself. There's a little hack for that, which is you go and you add a new part, which is another cylinder. So then I come back to my first one. And now because, nope, wrong one. Control Z. Come back to my first one. All right, take 4. This is why we...
It keeps joining them because they're in the same assembly. Yeah.
So now you can pull one off the bed because the other part is there. And so this is what I did with the little dragon ring. And this is, I had my little reference here. And then without doing math or percentages or, figuring out the distances, then I could come back here and just scale it to make it the size that I wanted. And I'm 2 for 2. My Earth 23 ring fits me beautifully, and the dragon ring fits my son beautifully as well.
Nice.
I will definitely use that hack, because actually I printed some rings in anticipation of this as well. But I just, I was much less scientific about it, Vicky. I just 15% larger than everybody else's. I'll just go with that.
It'll also be like the what Steve was saying was not being afraid of failing. If you made one that's too small, you can give it away to
somebody smaller than me.
Yeah.
Right. Trust me, I have a lot of Merry Christmas rings around here that I was like, okay, well, let me just make them in a variety of sizes so that when I hand them out, I can give them to people can figure out the size. And that worked out wonderfully. I do have just for 3D printing. So this was the multicolor Rocky Mountain ring the one that I just printed today. So that's one.
And those and I can see the supports on top there.
Yeah, and I used the blocker, but for some reason the blocker didn't block.
Okay.
So there were supports kind of like stuck in here, but they were pretty easy to pull out. But yeah, I do add the supports for the rings themselves.
Someone in the comments already approved upon my process where, yes, if you just add the cylinder to the original ring, that would do the same thing. So
Well, like I
yeah.
said, now I have it on printables with a sizer, and I'll be adding the sizer as just a standalone. So all you have to do is print out the sizer ring, and then you know what size, if you want to do a 3-finger ring, or any rings that I ever upload will be sized basically the same, and you'll just use a sizer to size it to whatever size you want it to be.
Nice.
Steve, where are you going to be putting? I saw the Wakanda medallion. That's probably a three-year-old object, but like, where are you going to be putting the what seems to be quite a bit of designs?
Yeah, I'm one of those people. I make stuff and then they sit. So probably we'll go to things first for like a week or two, and then over to printables, and then probably onto my website if I ever finish it.
Heard that.
You work in IT, like there's always something going on, and you always forget about it. So eventually, just so that people can download them. I'm working on some. I just started working on the project, some Negro League signs, or like round signages, like of the logos, as well as some light boxes. So I'm working on a design for some light boxes, kind of inspired by Shapr3d. He does a lot of light boxes. If you're not familiar with Shapr3d, make sure to look him up. It's like turtle, but SH and a SHURDLE. He does amazing light boxes. And like I said, these are all people like in the community. They're all amazing people. So yeah, I'm working on some light boxes. Probably redo the design of these to include some other things. And just stuff that I find is fun and interesting and worth printing. Like I said, I prefer functional stuff, so that's just where I kind of have the most fun with things. But I make an occasional teddy bear here or there.
And a big Lego.
Oh yeah. It's somewhere around here. I'm working on the hair for the Lego.
Steve, we have a question from Karen.
I'm looking. Yeah. It's a thing of trying to figure out how to attach them without them breaking. So that's the biggest thing, because like most people have a ton of PLA, we don't have a lot of PET G. So trying to figure out a way of making them so that they can attach. I thought about doing magnets, but also magnets aren't that consistent. They are great, but you can easily knock a piece off, and I don't want like small pieces kind of like floating around that look amazing and kids pick them up and snack on one or something like that. So I'm trying to figure it out, and then as well as maybe doing some additional like sculptures on top of them, so different designs, not just text, but maybe silhouettes of certain things, and not just 2-finger rings. Eventually we'll just kind of jewelry in general, or wearables, I'll say, things that you can do all sorts of stuff with. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Thanks. That's a good idea. I could probably do that with some kind of snap lock mechanism on it. Yeah, that's a good idea.
There you go.
Yep. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah,
power of the community.
Right.
Yeah. And I definitely would encourage you to put up your design, Steve, because there's things that I'm not a designer myself. I'm much more of an educator and pull down and print person. So you've got some very intriguing things that could get attention. You just
thank you. I appreciate
click the button
that.
and upload the STL, and more of us will be familiar with you, and I think that'd be a really great thing.
Cool. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Well, goodness, Stephen Lawrence, this is another one where the time just flew by. We've already hit
good point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I do want to say I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's been awesome. I've been watching episodes, so it's really cool.
Good.
And I think keep doing what you're doing, man. Like we need, more people making, pulling more people into the community and helping, spread the word about 3D printing, about making in general. You know, it's cool, it's fun, you know, and eventually it'll be the way you get your, you know, set of dishes from IKEA. You'll just, you know,
Not far off. It's not far off.
you know, you'll just, you know, buy the plans for a bowl. And, you know, you print your bowls out at home from now on.
Absolutely. It's not far off. It's not
No,
far
it's
off.
not. I mean, look at the housing market with 3D printed homes. They're still working on it, but you know, they're talking about 3D printing houses on the moon and other planets and trying to finalize that. They have 3D printers on the space station now, I believe, where
Yeah,
they're setting up
they've
designs.
printed wrench.
It's like,
Yeah,
come
they're
on, man.
tools and stuff, so they don't have to carry multiple, you know, multiple wrenches. If you break a wrench, you just print another one. And
Yeah,
that's
it's so cool, man. So it's not going anywhere. It's here. We just need to get more people involved and have more people realize that it's not as hard as you think it is. And there's levels up to it. You can be a fun printing person, or a you know, functional printing person. So cool.
Well,
And you guys will help them spread that word. So
yeah, this goes back to where you were talking about. We were talking about diversity. Like, everybody wants to print something different. Everybody has something different in their mind, and the more diverse this community gets, the more diversity we're going to see in amazing creations.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, housekeeping. The next Prime Tuesday is going to be March 5th, and you know, we do want this to be a community event and a dialogue. So if there's ever any kind of designs that you would like or think would be good for us to talk about slicing, you can go ahead and fill out a form on howwouldyouslicethat.com. And the same thing, we're in the market for other guests to come on. So if you're interested in joining us on air and talking, me and Lawrence are quite nice. We don't bite. So you can also fill out a form there on howwouldyousliceit.com.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward. Well, yeah, we're always looking for new and interesting people to share what it is that they're all about on this show. And it's a great opportunity to really kind of see what people are really doing with the technology as it moves forward.
Yes, and everybody in the dialogue and the comments in the audience, thank you so much for commenting and participating in the discussion. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Steve, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Appreciate it.
All right, everyone, have a great evening.